Gojo Satoru was the strongest sorcerer alive, a man so far ahead of the curve that the entire Jujutsu world had structured itself around the simple fact of his existence. Sukuna put an end to his dominance, but Gojo Satoru had contingencies for his contingencies, and arranged for Okkotsu Yuta to copy Kenjaku's curse technique and take over his body. But this got me thinking, what if instead of Yuta, Kenjaku himself took control of Gojo's body, effectively sealing the Six Eyes and his limitless technique? Kenjaku is probably the most cunning and strategic sorcerer to ever walk Earth, with his scheme spanning centuries. Inheriting the most powerful body in Jujutsu history would probably end up with Kenjaku being able to do virtually whatever he wants within Jujutsu society, and honestly, the prospect is terrifying. But before we get into the scenario, we need to understand exactly what Kenjaku would be working with. Gojo Satoru was not just strong, he had the kind of powers that bend the rules of how strength is supposed to work in this universe. The foundation of his power is the Six Eyes, a rare technique that appears once every few generations within the Gojo clan. The Six Eyes grants its bearer an almost supernatural level of cursed energy perception. A Six Eyes user can see the flow of cursed energy in real time, reading an opponent's technique simply by watching how their cursed energy moves through their body. They can identify sorcerers by their unique cursed energy signature, perceive threats at extreme distances, and process all of that information at superhuman speed. Think about what that means in a fight. In the moment an enemy commits to a technique, a Six Eyes bearer has already seen the cursed energy movement, parsed the threat, and formulated a counter. But the real reason the Six Eyes is so broken is its impact on curse energy economy. A Six Eyes bearer wastes 0 cursed energy when activating any technique, which is why Gojo could keep Infinity running at all times. For any other sorcerer, maintaining a constant barrier technique would drain their cursed energy reserves within hours. And Infinity is the first of the 3 core techniques that make up the Limitless. Blue takes the same concept in the opposite direction, creating a reversal of the natural order that generates a magnetic-like pull. Gojo can use blue to collapse space toward a single point, drawing everything in the surrounding area toward him with crushing force. Red is the opposite technique, which uses reverse curse technique to generate a repulsive force so powerful it can erase matter on contact. Hollow purple, a technique that erases everything it passes through, is created by merging red and blue. And then there's the domain. Unlimited Void is, without question, one of the most complete domain expansions in the entire series. Gojo opens it, and the world inside becomes a place where the target is connected to everything simultaneously. Every sensation, every concept, and every piece of information in the universe flows into them at once, with no filter and no end. The human mind cannot process that, and targets are rendered instantly catatonic, overwhelmed by the totality of existence forced into their nervous system all at once. The only reason Sukuna survived Unlimited Void is that he opened Malevolent Shrines simultaneously, and used the guaranteed hit rule to take damage from Gojo's domain even while his own was active. Now, this is an insane amount of power to take control of, and even Yuta struggled to use Gojo's curse technique despite having months to prepare for it. But this is why Kenjaku specifically stealing Gojo's body is such a huge threat. Kenjaku was a sorcerer who has been alive for over 1,000 years, by transplanting his brain into a succession of host bodies. He's also a genuine researcher of Jujutsu, and his understanding of barrier techniques, cursed flow energy, and the structural mechanics of how techniques work at a fundamental level exceeds nearly every other character in the series. So now we know that Kenjaku can use Gojo's body almost as well as he could. But there's still one obvious question. How does Kenjaku even get there? In the final arc, Kenjaku is killed by Yuta Okkotsu before Shinjuku Showdown reaches its conclusion. The sorcerers set up the battle so that Kenjaku is distracted by Takaba, whose comedian technique makes him practically invulnerable to anything Kenjaku can throw at him. Yuta tracks Kenjaku down, and because his cursed energy is hidden by Takaba's technique, he manages to behead Kenjaku the second their performance ends. So for the theory to work, we have to ask, what changes to give Kenjaku the window he needs? Well, Kenjaku already found the answer to Takaba's technique, and it was only a stroke of luck that prevented Comedian from falling apart. You see, if Takaba loses confidence in his performance and can't find his situation funny, he basically has no technique. In this timeline, Kenjaku doesn't play around, and the moment Takaba falters, he summons a group of special grade curse spirits to take down the sorcerer. This means by the time Yuta and Todo arrive at the scene, they've missed their window of opportunity, and Kenjaku stands fully focused before them. Now, I don't think Kenjaku actually stands and fights here, because he knows he can force a mistake if he just makes a run for it and tries to join forces with Sukuna. Kenjaku releases a swarm of cursed spirits and begins moving towards Shinjuku with Yuta right on his tail. Now, the sorcerers have Ui and Todo's techniques that could be used to catch up or to even stall Kenjaku, but the real issue is that Yuta is the only one who can actually fight him on even terms. But without the surprise factor, not even Yuta can actually capture Kenjaku, and realizing this, he gets Ui to send him directly to Shinjuku so he can set a trap. But once Yuta gets there, the Shinjuku Showdown isn't going too well, as Sukuna lands his world-cutting slash and strikes Gojo Satoru down. The battlefield enters a window of pure chaos. Yuji and Higuruma rush in to keep up the pressure, and no one has their eye on Gojo's body. Kenjaku has spent centuries anticipating the moment the strongest body of the era becomes available, and using a combination of barrier techniques and prepared cursed spirit distractions, he gets the corpse of the modern era's strongest sorcerer. When Yuta and Todo start thinking of Kenjaku, it's already too late. Gojo Satoru's reanimated corpse steps out of the rubble. The first and most important thing to understand about Kenjaku inhabiting Gojo's body is what the Six Eyes do for him specifically. Gojo spent his life struggling with the flood of information that the Six Eyes provide, which is the whole reason he wore the blindfold and the dark glasses. Kenjaku has no experience with this, and is immediately overwhelmed by the sensory input, but his brain isn't a regular one. Kenjaku's brain is over 1,000 years old and has more information engraved into it than any regular sorcerer could even imagine. Within seconds, Kenjaku understands the Six Eyes as a system, and maps the information architecture of the technique. For a mind this old and this trained, the sensory overload is just a mildly uncomfortable burden. What Kenjaku loses is the extent to which he can use cursed spirit manipulation, because he loses the stockpile of cursed spirits in Geito's body. But what he gains is, well, limitless. For the first time in his existence, Kenjaku is effectively unkillable in direct combat, because infinity prevents any attack from landing on him. Direct combat was Kenjaku's only real weakness all this time, but now the Jujutsu world's most dangerous strategist has a body that cannot be touched. When Kenjaku steps back onto the battlefield in Gojo's body, Sukuna is exhausted, but has his most complete set of cursed techniques, having already absorbed the complete Ten Shadows technique. Now the obvious question is what Kenjaku does, because he's not particularly loyal to Sukuna or the other Jujutsu sorcerers. Kenjaku's only goal is to ensure that the culling game goes to completion, and for that, the strongest sorcerer in the colonies must kill all other players. Kenjaku has never thrown away a useful piece on the board, and right now, Sukuna is the most useful piece that has ever existed. Sukuna is perceptive enough to understand the situation in seconds, and he realizes this isn't Gojo coming back from the dead, it's Kenjaku. Sukuna doesn't trust Kenjaku, of course, but he just needs to look at the battlefield and do the math himself. There are plenty of first grade and above sorcerers in front of him, and while Sukuna could handle that group alone given time, he's severely weakened from his battle with Gojo. So Sukuna agrees, and with that, the dynamic of the entire battle flips. Until this moment, the sorcerers had been operating on a clear logic. Throw everything at Sukuna while he's still weakened from the fight with Gojo. Overwhelm him before he can recover and end this. Yuta was the center of this plan thanks to his copy technique, and also the backup option of him copying Kenjaku's curse technique to take over Gojo's body. But now their options are almost wiped out thanks to Kenjaku's presence. The sorcerers rush forward anyway, but the moment they commit to the attack, Kenjaku opens with blue. He collapses a convergence point 30 meters behind the group, which doesn't hurt anyone, but immediately pulls their formation apart. Todo gets displaced from his red position. Higuruma's footing breaks, and Yuji, who was timing his entry around Todo's clapping technique, suddenly has no anchor point for his trajectory. Yuta recognizes immediately that they can't outsmart Kenjaku with tactics, and pivots to the only thing he can actually do, close the distance and force Kenjaku into hand-to-hand combat. Yuta, with Rika's full output, is one of the few things in this era that could actually threaten a body protected by infinity, but Kenjaku anticipated this too. Sukuna immediately steps in with Cleave, while Kenjaku rushes to Higuruma to prevent him from opening his domain. Deadly sentencing is the one tool in this fight that doesn't care how strong you are, so instead of going after a bigger target like Yuta or Yuji, Kenjaku opens Unlimited Void first. It lasts for less than 2 seconds, and Higuruma drops. Yuji, operating on pure desperation, lands a black flash on Sukuna. Todo's clapping technique manages to disrupt one of Kenjaku's blue setups. Kusakabe counters Sukuna with simple domain, but it's not enough. One by one, the sorcerers fall. And while Nobara's resonance might temporarily stop Sukuna, it doesn't deal with the biggest threat on the battlefield. When the dust settles, Kenjaku stands in the rubble of Shinjuku in Gojo Satoru's body, and looks at the generation that was supposed to save the world. Kenjaku has the Six Eyes now. He sees everything coming, and what he sees is a future that ends with the Great Merger. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another incredible JJK theory.